What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you're listening to Podcasting Business School. This is the show where I teach podcasters simple strategies to help you make more money with your online business. I am excited for another live coaching episode. I love coaching. I am a coach at heart, whether it's coaching my kids in their sport or teaching podcasters how to grow their show and make more money. So I love showing off what I do, and I love interacting with you all to create cool episodes like this. We've got a couple of live coaching segments here today, and we'll be talking about things like tips for getting your first few clients, how to find your podcast keywords, and even a challenge-based membership model that I'm loving right now. The first segment is with one of my online business academy for podcasters members. Chrissy is coming on to do a hot seat session. That's one of the features of that membership. And by the way, if you guys want to try out the online business academy for podcasters, I've got a 10-day free trial link in the episode notes here, or just heading over to podcastingbusiness.school/academy. That is for podcasters that want a little help with building out their six-figure online business, building that foundation by leveraging your podcast. It's an awesome community, celebrating a lot of wins in there. So we're going to dive in first here with Chrissy and talk about strategies for getting your first few clients with your online business. I know a lot of you are just starting to get some traction, getting an offer or two out there, and you're like, all right, what do I need to do to convert my first few clients and just get some money going in the bank? That's what we're diving into first. And then in the second half, we're going to talk a little bit more about podcast growth, SEO, and some other things. So first things first, let's dive in with Chrissy.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam. I'm excited to be here with you tonight.
Well, I've enjoyed having you in the academy. You're full of energy, you're full of questions, you're full of activity in there, and you're putting in work. You're checking some check boxes. So I love when people like yourself get in there, action takers. So let's talk a little bit about like what that next thing is for you with your business. You've rebranded, relaunched your show, and now kind of we knocked that domino over. What's that next focus point that you really wanted to kind of drill deep with?
Yes, so this is brand new business. I am coming into this with, I had a public Instagram page that I was using mostly to share kids' activities, and I made things like coloring books and kids' activities, which I still am doing. But through making my first podcast, I found that I was really interested in working with moms on figuring out who they are and where they fit into the world after having kids. So I decided to shift my podcast, shift my page to really supporting with that, but I didn't have a business to back that up with. So that's what brought me to the academy to really get this whole thing started. How am I going to help moms in real time with this business, not just through the podcast? So at this point, the business is really just at community building level. And I really need to start shifting into action. Like, how can I work with moms and support them in realistic ways?
Yeah. So, I mean, the nice thing about the place that you're in right now is that, well, it's a double-edged sword. You're going to put a lot of pressure on yourself, but in reality, there's really not very much pressure. Like the reality of
Mhm.
things are like you're building your audience, you're just getting going, and we just need to have an experimental mindset. We all get in that, got to make that first sale, got to hit a certain download mark or else fail. You know, if I don't do 1,000 downloads this month, oh, fail. I only did 940. Coming from being a health coach, I'd always see this in the weight loss space where somebody had a goal of losing 50 pounds by Christmas and they only lost 38 pounds and they're upset about it. I'm like, come on, let's celebrate the victory here. So that's one thing that's a seed that I want to plant right now is like you, we all, when we start, we have no idea what the expected result should be. So if you're like, I want to make 5K months in the next 3 months, like there's no guarantee of that. There's no like proven formula of like you do this and you'll make 5K months every single. It's just a lot of trial and error. But my job is to minimize the amount of trials you have to have and minimize the amount of errors that you have inside the academy. So we're going to kind of siphon everything down and make sure you're being really, really efficient. So let's talk about that. First thing, we got to have an MVO, a minimum viable offer. So at the point that you're at right now, we don't want to have this big, giant, robust thing that's built out because chances are you're going to be doing a lot of pivoting and tweaking and changing of your offers. So a huge mistake I made early on with my health brand. Spent 6 months filming videos, had this whole big course thing built out. Nobody bought it. Super disappointed. Wasted a lot of money, a lot of time. So an MVO could be something, we've talked about, just like, okay, they get to work with you in either one-on-one or small group format. That's one piece of an MVO. I like having the Chrissy factor in here, because if there's a working with Chrissy factor, even with a smaller audience, you'll monetize earlier and you can charge more. So that's a nice place to start. A lot of people are like, I built an online course and it's got 40 videos, but if they don't get direct access to you, they're like, well, I'd rather pay some famous person for their course that already has that expert positioning built up. So we don't want to compete against that. But, famous person, online course, but Chrissy is going to spend time working with me and I get to work with her directly. Advantage us. Does that make sense so far?
Definitely. Now, one of the tricky things about that is, you know me, I have a lot of ideas. I could build all of the offers tomorrow. Like they're living in my brain already, and you do a great job of slowing me down and bringing me down to earth, which is great. But I guess my thing that I'm working on now is it's tricky to be launching a podcast and be launching the business at the same time, because on the podcast, you want to pitch it all. You want everybody to follow, like, subscribe, review, work with me, do a call, follow me on Instagram, all of the things. So, how do you make that offer known without overwhelming everybody and still getting them to click something?
Yeah. Okay. I'm so happy that you asked this question. Like, we could probably do a deep, deep dive just on this topic, and maybe we will. So, like, wanting to promote offers early and often, like, we want to do that, but we have to sit back and kind of chill. It's like the whole dating thing. Like, you don't want to ask somebody to marry you like the very first date. Like, okay, seems like a good fit. Let's get married. Or like the first time that's putting an offer out there in your first episode. It's kind of like you see somebody and you just walk up to them and ask them to marry you without even saying anything else. So that's kind of weird, right? Like, buy this thing from me. So the minimum viable offer needs to be kind of generalized. It's kind of like, we can work together sort of a thing. It's not the super specifically named program. So in my in my genre, it wouldn't be like a podcast launch specific program or a podcast growth specific program, or like I have all those things now, but that's way down the line. I would have like a general coaching program and be like, okay, what is your pain point? Launch, yes. And for the next however many weeks, we're going to work together on launching or growth or whatever. So having that minimum viable offer that's kind of generalized is helpful. And it's just kind of covering our base a little bit, where you're going to have people that listen to the show. And if they do reach out, they DM you on Instagram, hey, I love your show. I've listened to all the episodes so far. Hey, is it possible to work together? Like, do you have something? That's why we have an MVO. Yes, I do.
Mhm.
Let's go. So in case that happens, right? And it happened to me, and I wasn't ready for it. So that's, again, another Adam lesson learned. Now, during your initial kickoff episodes early on, you and I've talked about just like really focus on getting people to subscribe to the show. That's kind of the initial phase. And then we want them on our email list, and then we can kind of start promoting from there. But casual calls to action that's like the audio version of a hyperlink in an
Mm.
email. You know what I'm saying? Like, a
Mhm.
hyperlink is like the word is just linked, and people are like, what's this about? And they click on it and they go, oh, this is an offer. Um, so a casual call to action, like just saying things like, now, when I'm working with somebody, what I really like to do is blah, 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 blah. Just like saying that phrase. Or when I bring a new client on board and we're talking about launching their podcast
Mhm.
or whatever, like just mentioning you working with people, talking about clients, referencing that client interaction, that positions you like, oh, this person has offers. And the
Mhm.
fact that you aren't pitching them, like I said, it's kind of like the hyperlink version of what you could do with an email. Does that make sense so far?
Definitely. Yeah. So leaving like little cookie crumbs and those kinds of things. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just like, yeah, they do. And then when you do start working with people and you drop testimonials, same deal. that's not seen as a promotion because it's somebody else just bragging on you, you know?
Right,
It's
right.
not it's not you selling.
Hmm.
So look for those opportunities first. And then I would do a ton of experimentation. So when it's like, let's go actually go out and get clients, I would go into Facebook groups or other communities and mom groups that you're already in and go, hey, I want to do a 7 day or a 5 day challenge uh, that I'm going to report in on the challenge inside of my podcast. And just like you just want to look for opportunities to go out and fish and pull people in, have an experience. And at first, that's going to be like beta group, free group sort of a thing. But then you're like, wow, maybe this one challenge, people get great results. They freaking loved it. They love the interaction with you. And you go, okay, the next one I'm doing is going to be $29 or it's going to be $97 or whatever. And now, or I mean, you could do that and just go, hey, now the 5 day thing, now it costs $29. Or you can go, hey, this 5 day thing is free. And then I'm going to have a $97 28 day thing that follows after the 5 day thing. That's how I monetized. I made significant income the first time with my podcasting career. I did a 5 day, what I called a Hello Abs boot camp. It was like a little live Facebook live workout thing. And then I sold a 28-day extended version with pre-made 5 minute workout videos and things like that, and did real well with that. So but I would just be out there reaching out, pulling people in, mention that you're going to report about it on your podcast, beta group, free group, test group, see what resonates and what produces the most results. And we're just looking for pain points and solutions to pain points. And this is how our offers and challenges and eventually you go, hey, I mean, you may have people, you do a 5 day free challenge, you have people reach back out of that and go, wow, like what's next? This is great. What do you got next for me? So if you're able to produce results, so maybe you're like, well, I'm thinking about forming a little small group coaching program. Who would be interested in that? Me. So it's just getting out there and networking, pulling people in. But there's going to be a little bit more legwork up front because we don't have a large podcast listenership. We don't have a large email list to lean on. So I'll pause. Thoughts, questions about what we just discussed there.
Yeah, that sounds like it pairs really well with my current goals of community building too, because a free group is just another layer of community building. So, putting together a book group or like a let's all start a hobby, whatever your hobby of choice is at the same time, and we'll just keep each other accountable, like accountability group, where I can give actionable steps for people to take. All of that makes sense and pairs just really nicely with what I'm already doing without feeling like it's another layer of an ask or just like an out of the blue launch. So that would be a really nice rollout to, okay, we did this. It was fun. Everybody enjoyed it. Now, if you want to continue it, we can keep going. Whereas right now, what I feel like is if I threw out a boom, I'm coaching, like it would just be another new thing. And people be like, Chrissy, what are you doing? Like there's too many new things happening here. Can you slow down a minute? But
Yeah.
this gradual rollout makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And just, I mean, doing an ask to a free thing is so much easier and so much more well received from like a podcast listener perspective than an ad promoting your own thing. So imagine, you do kind of a casual call to action. Obviously, you and I have talked about like your intros and doing the just subscribe to the show. But if you go out there and you go, hey, at the end of April, I'm going to do a 5 day free challenge and do an episode about it. So then you can still
Mhm.
have your subscribe to the show intro, outro, but do an episode about the topic and go, hey, I'm going to put together a free 5 day challenge. The link's in the show notes or go wherever. I'm really focused on community building and I'm excited to do this. Here's why. Here's what it's going to be about. Here's who it's for, XYZ, and kind of unpack the pain points a little bit and put that out there as an episode. Then let's say you have 45 people that sign up and do the 5 day challenge. At the end of the 5 day challenge, this is where people will screw this up because you're not an experienced like pitcher and salesperson yet. So this is where we fumble. And I would keep it super simple and go, hey, on the 5 day challenge, as you kind of round the corner after day three, probably at the end of day three, I would put out like a Google form survey. You know, what are you loving about the challenge? What would you like to see? What improvements can I make the next time that I do this? Um, I'm thinking about turning this, like the next question or a question needs to be about some sort of a paid next step potential beta group thing. I'm thinking about putting together a group coaching program around this. Would you be interested in learning more about that? Or would you be interested in helping me create this via a beta group? So it kind of, again, turns that corner into starting to talk about paying for things like this, or even valid question. If I had charged for this
Right.
5 day experience, what would you pay? I ask people these types of questions all the time, and they help me set the price. I'm like, hey, you already got it for free. If I had charged for it, like, what would you be willing to pay for something like this? And just kind of get those conversations going. And that will a lot of times people will opt in and go, yeah, I would actually. Maybe you're like, I'm thinking about doing a 2 day in-person event or a 1 day in-person event based on this topic, or I'm thinking about doing a 28-day automated online course with this, or you could have a check all list of, I'm thinking about potentially charging for a challenge like this. Out of the following options, what would you actually be willing to pay for? Check any that apply. I would love your feedback on this. Bing, bing, bing. So just having that intake form, and then you can follow up. Maybe somebody seems pretty interested in continuing the process. They're willing to pay. They have good ideas as far as like pricing and stuff like that. I'd book a one-on-one with them and go, hey, I'd love to kind of pick your brain a little bit more on this topic. So initially, it's a lot of hands-on legwork, just networking and kind of just asking people for feedback and a lot of free value out front. But it's worth it because later on, you've like these real potential clients slash clients are helping you build out all the stuff they actually want. And now you've got that and you can scale it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'm all about like my whole platform is about starting small, following the breadcrumbs. You don't have to wait for the big idea to come along. And this just fits so well with it versus I am always like, I have this message because I am that person. I'm always waiting for the big idea. I'm always trying to figure out what the big thing is, but that doesn't fit well with anybody. Like it's just so much more natural when you have a community behind you to support it. And then when you ask questions of like, would you have paid for this or would there be new things that should have been added to make this worth paying for? You get all kinds of ideas from people. People just want to see you succeed. So
Yep.
that's the way to go.
Yeah. And you're planting seeds. So
Hmm.
if you go inside of a Facebook group and go, hey, I'm a podcaster and I'm thinking about launching a free community, but also have a paid tier. For those of you that experience these types of communities, what do you love about them? What do you hate about them? And just like get feedback. Or, hey, fill out this form. If you know, I'm thinking about creating community for moms, having a free version, a paid version. I would love your feedback. And you could also use this to build your email list if you wanted to. Like that's,
Right.
which is never a bad thing. Now, let's talk about that email list. So I want you building email list as we go. That's going to be a very high priority that I'm going to be helping you with because I've just experienced like last year and this year the power of having that email list, and it's much easier to sell directly from an email list than it is directly from a podcast. Like we plant the seeds, have expert positioning, and have those calls to action. And I gain customers off of the podcast, but like last year I sent one email and I netted over $23,000 from that one email. I was like, whoa, that freaking blew my mind.
Mhm.
I sent an email yesterday and we're over 10K off the email from yesterday. And I was like, it's crazy. So I like having a specific newsletter, email strategy, like something that I'm going to be talking a lot about in the academy is my newsletter. I do a lot of hyperlinking. Like so when this episode goes live, I'll post about it and I'll say, hey, I talked to Christy and she's a member of the Online Business Academy for podcasters. And I will hyperlink the sales page for the Online Business Academy for podcasters. I
Okay.
won't like promote it or anything. It just hyperlinked. So in the newsletter, there's a lot of that. And then we got what I call Money Mondays. If you get an email from me on Monday, it's going to be a very specific promotion or, hey, we've got a free workshop this week, or, hey, I've got a special sale, or, hey, I just launched a new thing. And that is so one lane of traffic. I promote a thing and that's all it's talking about. So having that built up and going, oh wow, now we got 500 people that I can send that email to. We're going to get conversions that way too. So now we've got the podcast and kind of the long game there, the email list. That's a quicker route to just quick monetization. And yeah, we're going to be working on building both.
Great. I love it. Now, can we talk about Facebook groups for a second? There are a lot of restrictions on what you can post. Self promotion is a big no no in Facebook groups, Reddit groups, all the things. There's usually a no podcast talk. Like if you have a podcast, you can't talk about it or a business or whatnot. So, do you have any good advice for getting around those things?
Well, usually if you are responding to someone else with a free resource, then that's viewed as, helpful. So if you're in a Facebook group and somebody posts a question and you answer the question and you go, hey, I've also got a full 15-minute episode on this. Let me know if you want the link. That's
Mm,
okay.
mm-hmm.
But I feel like approaching a Facebook group, especially if you're an active member, if you're just joined and then hit them with like, hey, well, somebody fill out this Google form for me because I'm collecting data, that's probably not going to fly. But if you're active in there and you post just like a normal person, and then you put up a post like, hey, I'm doing some research for my brand and I'm doing different like offer creation stuff. I'm trying to figure this out. I need feedback. Um, if you'd be interested in giving me feedback, I don't know if you're
Mm-hmm.
able to post a direct link or not. So you may have to go, if you're interested in providing feedback and helping me out with X, Y, and Z, just drop a comment. I'll DM you and I'll send you the Google form. I'm not selling anything. I'm actually just I'm doing research. So go
Right.
from that perspective. I think you should be okay.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, because I definitely approach a lot of things on just serve the people, like help people out, and then it will come back to you. So like that's how I'm approaching my whole community building aspect. So again, the same mindset, like just help people, and that will go with that. And you do that with your episodes too. You'll say I have a podcast episode on that. So
Yeah.
once the podcast is up and rolling, that gets a little easier too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you got to see the difference. Like from, okay, person A goes in a Facebook group and goes, hey, for anybody that's interested in
Mm-hmm.
blah, 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 I just dropped a hot podcast episode about that is podcast promotion. They
Mm-hmm.
will frown upon that. But if you post, oh, wow, I'm really struggling with my podcast right now. I thought it'd be easier. I'm only doing 42 downloads an episode. I'm really struggling. What am I supposed to do? I feel like quitting. I jump in there and go, listen, here's some thoughts. We should probably look at X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 add a few nuggets of wisdom and inspiration. And I've got a full podcast episode about this. It's episode number, whatever. If you'd like the link, just DM me. I'll send it right to you. So that's way different. I answered their question
Yeah.
and I dropped an additional resource that is also free that is direct relation with the question that they asked.
Yep. And I think that's the key too, is put the emphasis on free. Like even if somebody asks, don't point them to well, I have a paid $27
Right.
program on this. Do like the freebie that you have paired with it.
Yep. Yeah. And also then like I'm really strategic on threads and on the threads app, people are always in there talking about my podcast won't grow. What the heck do I do?
Mhm.
And I always refer them to episode 483, which is 5 strategies to help you double your downloads. And I know when they listen to episode 483, this free thing that I promoted, and they listen to it, the first thing they're going to hear, testimonial from my Download Growth Club.
Mm.
Next thing they're going to hear, a call to action to join my Download Growth Club. And then they hear the episode. And then the outro, they hear another call to action to join my Download Growth Club. So I'm very strategic with those intros and
Mm.
outros, my testimonials, and which episodes, like I know what the testimonial is about and what the intro and outro are about for every episode that I recommend on social media. And that's very strategic and very on purpose. Does that make sense?
That's so interesting because I've obviously heard you talk a lot about recommending episodes to people and being specific with that. You do it all the time, or you're saying like, yeah, go to 427. And but then to know the kind of behind the scenes of that, it's not just that that episode is a hot topic or specifically addresses their need, it's also fully loaded. Like you made it there to kind of hit all of the hot spots. It's not just an answer to their question, it's the answers to the questions they didn't even know they had as well.
Yep.
So that's great.
Yeah, it's all aligned, and that's how we win the game as content creators. We really think strategically and go, what's this episode about? Okay. Do I have a testimonial along the lines of
Mhm.
the topic of this episode? And do I have an offer, a freebie, or a paid thing that I can do an intro and outro that connect the dots? If so, okay, let's do that. That makes sense.
Right.
So yeah, like I feel like you're in a stage right now of your business game that again, it's going to take some legwork. There's a lot of different routes that you could be taking, some of them good, some of them bad. But the good news is you're here. You know, you got that Voxer access. You can walkie talkie me at any time and go, hey, should I do this or that? And I'll tell you what I think. And that way you have somebody to bounce ideas off of. So, and the entire community. Um, Before we sign off, I got to make sure we get some time for you to shout out your website, your show, your brand. So go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so you can find me on my website, momidentityproject.com, that has all the links to everything I do. I'm mostly on Instagram at Mom Identity Project, and my podcast is Mom's Guide to Finding Herself.
Go and support our
Yes.
pod pal, Chrissy. Now, we mentioned a couple times you're in the Online Business Academy for
Yes.
Podcasters. What are you enjoying about it so far?
I love that it hits. So, as a stay-at-home mom, one of my husband's biggest concerns about me launching a business, doing something, was the amount of time it would take because I have, a few hours a week to do everything, my podcast, the business and whatnot. So, he was worried about like my mental health going into something and knowing me being this big, I have a million ideas, I want to do everything. And I feel like this academy has hit both of our must-haves, our checklists, right? You're helping me build the business, you're helping me make this dream into a reality to support moms, but you're also helping me to make sure that my mental health stays in check and I'm not overloading myself. I'm not creating a business that I'm going to stop and say I can't handle this, I can't do this, and I'm just going to have to quit because I don't even know how to scale it down. So you're helping me scale it so thoughtfully and so well that it's a refreshing difference from all the things that you see out there that are like, here's how you can get to 7K tomorrow. Like it's overwhelming and an actual flood of information. And so for me, knowing that my family is my top priority, my kids, I need to really balance that as much as I can. It helps me just to balance my whole life and build it around my life and not build a business for the sake of having a business.
Well, I appreciate you saying all that, and it's interesting because when we did a discovery call and we talked about
Right.
getting you in this academy, and you told me like, hey, listen, super busy, family first, and I was like, good. I'm like, that's what I'm all about is freaking
Mhm.
simplify before multiply. I'm in this less but better psycho mode right now, and I'm like,
Mhm.
you are the ideal person. Like I, if I can help you, then I can help anybody across the board because like you said, you really do have to simplify so that you can multiply and I'm your safeguard against doing all the things. And I'm always going, nope, simplify this. Don't worry about this other stuff yet. Do this and this and this. And we have the big Chrissy idea explosion. And I go, let's
Right.
filter this down to these three things right
Right.
here. And we can have all these other things off to the side ready to go when we're ready for those. So no, that's awesome. I'm glad that you're enjoying your time in the academy and I sure am enjoying working with you. I can't wait to see what happens now that we got the show rebranded, relaunched, and out there. And now it's time to build that community and get the value rolling out there. And value leads to clients, and that's how it works. So super
Exactly.
proud of
Yep.
you, Chrissy.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that first segment of the show today with Chrissy. Again, that was an Online Business Academy hot seat session. If you are in the academy, you get access to those sessions with me for a little bit of one-on-one time with your buddy Adam. Again, if you want to try that membership out, if you are a podcaster who wants to learn how to leverage your show to build the foundation for a six-figure online business like my pod pal Chrissy, then hop on that link in the show notes for a 10-day free trial. Now, our next segment, our final segment for the episode today, we are going to do a podcast audit, and we're talking with Rose from the Chat Off the Mat podcast. We're talking podcast keywords, organic growth via SEO, and a challenge-based membership model that I hope that she's going to try out because I think it's a pretty cool idea and I think it's going to work. So let's dive into this podcast audit with Rose from the Chat Off the Mat podcast. Rose, welcome to Podcasting Business School. How's it going?
It's going great. I'm really excited to be here with you, Adam. Thank you.
Yeah, let's hit the ground running here. Let's set a goal. I want to target for what we're going to shoot for here today. 6 months from today, we're meeting up, we're talking, everything has gone really, really well with your show. Describe what that could potentially look like for us here.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, I think, for every podcast host that's fairly new, not that new, is that we want to increase our downloads because it potentially means that more people are listening to us and we're getting the message out there. So that's what that means to me. So I don't have any other offerings outside of the podcast as my platform for messaging and connecting people with experts and leaders out there. But that's the one that comes to mind first.
Yeah. Growth is always a great goal. Let's talk about your ideal listener avatar a little bit. I'm curious as to like who you really want to be listening to you as you create these episodes.
Great. So it has evolved over the years. My podcast started out as just being a hobby and I was doing it with someone else. And I think that in the back of my mind, I did have the perfect avatar, only it took me a few years to get there. So this past year, I was kind of honing in a little bit more, maybe more the past few months. So basically women about 45 and over who are transitioning, maybe not, their kids aren't little, but they still have kids at home. They're experiencing burnout. They want this, they want to do more than just be at home raising their kids, or maybe they're transitioning out of careers. They're postmenopausal. They have struggled with different issues over their life, and now they are looking for guidance or maybe reinvention. So that's my avatar. So
yeah,
is that too large?
No.
Okay.
I think it's really good. I think we need to dip into that a little bit. I got some ideas with that.
All right.
And as far as you helping them, like what type of content,
Okay.
what type of content topics that you produce or that you could produce serves that audience? Like, are we talking about like meditation, mental health? Like,
Yeah.
give me some ideas around that sort of a thing.
Great. So a lot of I'm introducing them to a lot of like metaphysical tools like Reiki, Qigong, meditation. We also cover topics like narcissistic relationships and what to do to get out of them, and that's all falls under mental health. So trying to think more of some of the topics: intuitive guidance, medical intuition, things like that. Things that maybe people won't normally or typically explore or never had conversations or knew about. And so I'm hopefully introducing them and inspiring them to reach out and learn more about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You are dropping some keyword bombs on me here. I'm making mental notes like thumbtack. Let's remember that. So I want to start with the conversation. When we talk about growth, one of the most powerful mechanisms that not enough podcasters are using is that SEO or organic discoverability. And this is the most powerful podcast growth bucket that we've got. Most podcasters focus on effort-based marketing. I have to be a guest on other people's shows. I have to post on social media. I have to do email marketing. I have to get people to refer my show to friends. That's all effort-based. And when you only focus on effort-based, that's a recipe for burnout because it's high effort, low result. Usually people are like, I'm doing all these things and I have 4 people listening to my show every month. This is terrible. So with organic discoverability, we want to leverage that as much as possible. Now, you gave me a ton of great keywords. Let's just kind of mentally recap some of these. Mindfulness, one of the strongest podcast keywords we can possibly have.
Yeah.
Mental health, same deal. Even things like yoga, relationships, all those words that you just listed, like these are the topics, meditation. These are amazing keywords, and we want to leverage these as much as possible. And they're just different zones that we want to leverage them on. One of them is definitely with your episode titles. So make sure, this is an area that if people out there listening, if you're using a lot of AI is not great at this. AI will create a catchy, snappy episode title.
Yeah.
But you have to go back and go, what keyword did I talk about in this episode, and get that keyword in the dang name of the episode. So if you talked about mental health, I really want mental health to be in the title of the episode. 7 a conversation about mental health or 7 strategies to help, post-menopausal women with their mental health, whatever that is, we want to call out the ideal listener as much as possible, call them and use keywords because that'll help us show up as much as possible there. So any thoughts or questions about that specific tip?
No, I just, I worry about repeating some of the keywords. I totally understand and get the whole SEO thing. And even though I use AI as a launching pad, I do refine them, but it's really hard to know if they work.
Well, I can tell you that they work really well. Like keywords in general work really well. And I get what you're saying about repeating keywords.
Yeah.
But let me throw this at you. I've got this week, I dropped episode 557 of Podcasting Business School. I try to include the phrase podcasting tips in every episode title if I can, because it works so well. That's what I want to show up for. If people search podcasting tips anywhere, I show up usually in the top 3, usually number 1.
Wow.
Because it's podcasting tips for creating your membership offer, podcasting tips for podcasters for podcast growth, podcast launch tips. It's different variations of it. But I found that little, here's what they're searching secret sauce. And if you're varying topics with mindfulness, mental health, meditation, relationships, those are all great keywords. And those are all 4 different topics. So I wouldn't worry too much about
repeating.
Because the way I look at it is you listen to my show for the podcasting tips. Like that's what you want. So if all the episodes are about that, good for everybody. Like that's what you came here for. So something to think about there. We just, sometimes we get overly creative as creatives. That's in our nature. And we think like, oh, the name of this episode needs to be more
catchy
and flowy. And it's like a big old talk to the hand roadblock of, okay, now your ideal listeners can't find this episode and they won't listen to it.
Yeah.
So don't do that. So the next level up when it comes to organic discoverability is our description of our show and our host. So where do you host your show? Like Libsyn, Buzzsprout?
I do Buzzsprout.
Okay, perfect. I love Buzzsprout. I don't personally use them, but they're one of the top 2 that I recommend along with Libsyn.
Yeah.
So you go to the little section that's like the settings section, and that's where you can change the name of your show, change the art, but also has the description of your show. And I want all these keywords in there. So go back and review. Usually when I'm working with somebody on, especially like a rebrand, we go, all right, paragraph 1, I want the about you, about the show, how you're connected to the theme of the show, who should be listening to the show. Okay. Write that paragraph, rough draft it, and then go back to our keyword list and go, we need to get all these in there. These need to be all of them need to be in there. Just kind of replace words, make it work, get them all in there, and it will really help. And then what we do is we create a second section. You can use my Podcasting Business School host description as a template where I go, this show is for you if you find yourself asking questions such as, and then you ask a list of Google questions. And the easiest way to do this is a little hack. We've got a couple off the top of your head. Like maybe it's like,
are you suffering from insomnia?
Yes.
Do you have burnout or like,
yes.
Are you like exhausted at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Things like that.
So list all those and then take those same questions and actually type them into Google. And then Google always does the recommendation of people also asked these questions.
Yeah.
So those are actual questions that people are searching on Google. Take all those and put them in the list as well. So now you've got 10, 15, 20 questions in there that people are actually searching on Google. Now your show is connected to those questions. So now your show will show up with those questions. And let me give you a double hack on this. A hack upon the hack is you take those Google questions and use those as episode titles. So now we go back down and go, all right, what Google question did I just answer with this episode? Put that into Google, see what the suggestions are, and take one of those question format names and make it the episode title. Now that episode directly will show up in that Google search. Does that make sense?
Oh, total sense. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So then the ultimate level of discoverability is the actual name of the show itself. So we have to look at the keywords and all that. So I know you've got a title extension. So it's Chat Off the Mat, Holistic Healing, feminine energy and tools for vibrant living.
Yeah. So I recently added that.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I came up with this name. It was a catchy name, and I'm a yoga teacher, so it made sense to me and who I was working with at the time. But so funny, I went to Podfest. First person I meet is Larry Roberts, who is, he's funny. He looks at me and he goes, "Oh, chat off the mat." He goes, "Oh, wrestling, right?" I'm like, "No." So I know it doesn't make sense, so I added the tagline to hopefully hone in on my audience.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I've got 3 rules for what I call the perfect podcast naming formula. The first rule is when I look at it, I want to know exactly what it's about. The second rule is that when I look at it, I want to know exactly who it's for. And the third rule is that I want to see at least 2 keywords. All right.
Yeah.
So I think the only keyword you've got is holistic healing, maybe feminine energy, but I don't know if people are going to search that a whole super lot. Vibrant living, you think it would, but it's not. Like people aren't putting vibrant living into. It's like people use the word love a lot. People don't put the word love in a search bar in Apple or Spotify. It's too general.
Right.
They'll put relationships or relationship tips. So I think a couple important things that you could consider, like if we could sneak a word like mental health or mindfulness in there, if you really focus on one and or both of those things, those are some of the best keywords we can possibly put in a show. But then we got to let them know who it's for. And I think when you called out was it postmenopausal or perimenopausal women?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you had some sort of combination of mental health or mindfulness strategies for perimenopausal women, postmenopausal women, that's the keyword. That's what I would do. If I were you, that is exactly what I would do. So
I'm writing it down.
And the first word of the name of the show has the most SEO power. The first word. So right now, the first word is chat. Not good. We're wasting. I mean, it makes a huge difference. The fact that my first word is podcasting and that is my main keyword, huge difference.
Yeah.
So I could have called my show The Podcasting Business School. And now I've wasted that with the word the. To get that out of there, it's just Podcasting Business School. So if you're something like mental health conversations for postmenopausal women, I know what it's about. I know who it's for. 2 amazing keywords. And the second keyword, postmenopausal, perimenopausal women, whatever, how you want to describe that, that's an identifying term plus keyword. That's like bonus, because it's like if I was going to create a marketing podcast, I could call it something crazy like in the news or the being known, be discovered podcast. And like we don't know who that's for or what it's about or anything. But if I have a marketing podcast that's online marketing strategies for personal trainers, anybody that's searching that and they are a personal trainer, like you just use the word that I use to describe myself. I'm not going to go to the general marketing show or the creatively named marketing show. I'm going to go to the one that's calling to me personally.
Yeah. There's a lot of podcasts out there, names that are pretty general. I don't know how they're doing. Some, I guess it depends who's, if there's a celebrity brand behind it, but
yep.
That I've struggled with the name, and that's why I did the tagline. But I have to think about that. But I have struggled. Some people that I've asked are like, "Oh, it's cute, keep it." I've asked some people who are pretty successful, have podcasts, some females, and they're like, "Oh, it's cute," but I guess I need to look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it, I hear this advice all the time. Even people that hire me for a rebrand, they're like, "But my friend says that." I'm like, listen, I eat, sleep, breathe, and live this. And I struggled through 3 years of nobody listening to my show until I figured this out. I wanted to quit every day for almost 1,000 days of being a podcaster until I figured this out. And now my podcast listeners and ideal clients find me while I sleep. It's totally changed the game.
Yeah, I hear you, and it's a road, and I'm constantly tweaking, and I'm sure you did the same thing, right? And you learn all the tools, and then it starts to take off. So like I was thinking of adding or doing something like women's wellness, and then somebody said, wellness for women, and somebody's like, well, that's not right either, And it was a podcast marketing person also. So I was like, okay, well, what do I do? Like, do I change it and see how it goes? Because you don't want to always change it, and then it's easy to change the description, right? No
Yeah.
one really reads that all the time, but you're changing it and tweaking it for SEO optimization. But then the podcasts are like people like, I knew you as Chat Off the Map, but where are you now? I don't know, that's so I have to really figure that out. It's almost a hit or miss sometimes.
Well, here's the way I look at it. If you are doing over 1,000 downloads an episode, then I would worry about what you just said. If you're doing under 1,000 downloads an episode or not even close to that, it's not an issue. Wouldn't
Okay.
even worry about it. If you're doing under 100 downloads an episode, it's not even a conversation to be had. Like, do not worry about it at all. You could change it every single day of the week until you start getting traction. Obviously, we don't want to do that, but that's people get worried out or stressed out about like, well, if I change this, then people are going to unsubscribe. And I go, when I ask the question, how many subscribers do you have? And they say 17. I'm like, did we just answer our own question? I'm like,
Right.
it's better to change this now and experiment and really get it figured out before you do grind it out and have this giant audience,
Okay.
and this will help get there. But I think anything will be better than what you've got as far as like leveraging any sort of keyword, whether it's women's wellness, mental health, mindfulness. I think you need to have a conversation internally and also with your ideal listeners and go, when you think of me, which one of these words do you resonate with? Which one of these topics do you want to learn the most about? We got to find the sweet spot of the cross section of what you're most excited to talk about and what they really need to hear from you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if we have that, I put an analogy on Threads the other day. I was like, your podcast should, when you're creating podcast content, that should feel like recess compared to when you go to your 9 to 5 and it feels like you're in detention. Like that's what I want. That's what I want you to feel like. You flip on that microphone, like, yes, the recess bell just rang. I get to hang out with my pod pals and teach people and say things that you're fired up about it. So a podcast will evolve and you'll evolve as a podcaster. So don't sweat making some pivots and changing. And if you ever go to turn that mic on, you're like, ugh, I threw up my mouth thinking about like, I don't want to do this, or it starts to feel like detention, then we got to pivot. We got to change because your listeners deserve to get the best from you. A fully energized Rose just going into that thing going, hold on to your hats, y'all. I'm about ready to burn your eyebrows off with some hot content here. So that's what we want. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. And I love doing what I'm doing. So I really love the podcasting world and doing this. So so I'm all for
so it's just like, this isn't a let's make a decision right now, like big pressure thing, but this is something I want you to take some time to think about but you can update episode titles and host description. Like you said, we did it this afternoon and now it's working for us. And then, you can mess around with the title extension. You can mess around with some keywords here and there, or do a full rebrand. And that's your decision to make. I'm never going to be like, you have to do this. I can say, if I was you, I would definitely do this, but that's the farthest that I can take it.
Okay.
I'm curious about monetization. Like, what's our goal here? Are we trying to make some money from this thing? Like, what's the goal around that?
I have not tried to make money off of this thing. First of all, I don't even know where to go. I don't have any offerings outside except some personal things that I do, like coaching, that I do promote. But no, I have not done any money. I really don't know much about that yet.
Do you think you'd be interested in making money from this? I mean, is that a consideration that you would? Okay. Some people are like, I'm not interested in that at all. And
I didn't like focus too much on it because in the past year, I took over the podcast after doing it like sporadically, and I was focusing on the content to really build the content. And I doubled, my growth.
Yeah.
As far as episodes, downloads, which I thought was great. And now, in the craft, so the doing that all that. So I've been focusing on that. So, but yeah, I'm open to monetization, of course.
Okay. So let's just take a peek at a couple of monetization ideas.
Okay.
I want to talk about sponsorship stuff first, because I think that's less of the best fit for you. That's the backup option. And then I've got a community-based thing that I think could work for you if you chose to go after it. So when it comes to sponsorships and ads, it's going to take numbers. Okay. And you need to get usually around 20,000 downloads a month to get a sponsor to talk to you. And most podcasters, I mean, you're a top 20% podcaster if you do 1,000 downloads an episode. So if that tells you anything, like most people aren't even close to this sponsorship level. You can get some smaller stuff and you can get affiliate codes and, whatever. My big joke that I tell at Podfest every year is my first 3 years as a podcaster, I made a total of $37 from Mushroom Coffee affiliates. Thank you for Sigmatic Mushroom Coffee. I mean, it's good. I probably spent
I love that coffee.
3,000. I bought $3,000 worth of mushroom coffee from them, and I made 37 back on a.
Yeah, I haven't even had anyone buy me a coffee with the link that I have on there, so that's cool.
So, and if you want to get sponsors, you need to build your email list. You get serious effort in email list, serious effort on growing a social media, because you got to combine those three things. I think so. That's one thought, and growth will lead to all that. But I think monetizing more effectively and earlier, and I think you'd actually have fun with it. I've got a few different like community membership style offerings that I teach people, but one that I think could fit you, that fits well in the personal journey, personal growth, health and wellness vein, is what I call a challenge-based membership. So the whole trick to it is keeping it really simple. All right. And it's based around one simple group challenge per month. All right. And the challenge lasts anywhere from 3 to 10 days. So let's say you've got a batch of listeners, you got 10 listeners that decide to try this out the first month. And it's, April of 2025, you got 10 people that are going to do your 5-day mental health improvement challenge or whatever.
Right.
Mindfulness challenge, meditation, yoga challenge. I mean, it could be anything, any of these lanes that you want to operate in, and you've got plenty of them. That's why this will work. And they try it out and they do the 3 to 5 day thing. And then you do like your effort. I usually recommend doing a kickoff Zoom chat of everybody that's doing the challenge. You explain how it's going to work and how people are going to report it. Maybe it's in a Facebook group or a Slack channel or something, easy to manage. It doesn't have to be a big paid thing. And then you do the challenge, and then you do some sort of call Zoom chat, week 3 of the month to kind of unpack, hey, let's celebrate our wins, talk about the progress that we made, and let's preview the next month's challenge. And that's the simple flow of this thing, where each month you do a 3 to 10 day challenge, and it kind of serves as a lead magnet. And I tell my clients, I'm like, hey, when you do this, let people do the first challenge for free. That's that gets them, that builds your email list, that lets people experience it. Hopefully they love it, they want to stay, and they're paying you usually between $47 to $97 a month to be in this paid community. So now we've got 10 people in there, that's $1,000 a month. If it's 97 a month, 10 to 20 people at that price range is going to be $1,000 a month coming in. I really believe you can find 10 to 20 people that are like, I love Rose's content. I want to go a little bit deeper and be led by her through this journey throughout the year, where we do a very simple, specific challenge to help us improve and walk this journey together as a supportive community. It doesn't have to be you're in a Facebook group posting every day. It doesn't have to be one-on-one coaching, but just you showing up a couple times on Zoom, mapping out a challenge. Again, 3 to 10 days. When people try to do this, sometimes they're like, it's a month-long challenge, and then we go into the next month and it's a month. That's too much.
Yeah.
People will pay for simplicity, and just give them a very minimalist approach to this, a simple thing to do, hold them accountable in some way. They report in and say, I walked 10,000 steps today, or I meditated for 5 minutes today. Here's my top takeaway. Here's how I felt. You know all this stuff more than me. Yeah. So I think that is something that I would seriously consider, because you can start doing that.
I like that. It's just I have to think about the right platform, whether it's through my personal website or combining it with Facebook. Because if you're doing it from a month to month, and people that pay, that kind of bow out, then you have to manage that access or that, no access thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could keep it as simple as possible, where it's like you set up a recurring payment on Stripe or something like that.
Right.
And then when you see that they cancel out, then you go in and just pull them off the Facebook group, or you could have a VA do that. And
Yeah.
now it's done.
Yeah.
Easy.
Okay. That's cool. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
And if you get to the point where you're like, oh, there's so many people, I've got 100 people. I'm like, well, spoiler alert, if you are charging 47 to 97 a month and you've got 100 people in this thing, you're making $5,000 to $10,000 a month. You could hire a VA to take care of all this for you easily.
that's one of my
So
goals. Right.
it's scalable, it's very scalable, very, very simple. But yeah, I've seen people do this. I've encouraged some of my clients to do this, and they're out there trying it. And I did a variation of this when I had a health show back in the 2015 to 2019 era. And people love challenges in the personal growth space because they're on a personal journey, but they want to be supported by a community of like-minded people. And you've already started to curate that with your show. So it's a natural fit. Let's say you're getting ready to do some sort of mindfulness-based challenge in a few weeks, and you drop an episode or two on the mindfulness topic and go, hey, if you guys have not tried out my challenge community, my blah, blah, blah challenge club community, whatever you call it, next challenge, if you like this topic, you're going to love this next challenge because it's going deeper on what we're doing, and we're going to do it together. First challenge is free. Use the link in the blah, blah, blah to get set up. So it all feeds itself.
Yeah. I like that. Okay.
So simple strategies for monetization. That's what I'm all about. So I think that's something I would definitely explore, and combining that with our growth mechanisms that we talked about. Now the audience grows with ideal fit listeners because of those keywords that we're pulling in. Words like mindfulness, things like that. Oh, now we're coming in interested in mindfulness. Ooh, there's this mindfulness episode topic. Ooh, there's a challenge on mindfulness. Now the breadcrumb trail makes a lot of sense. And your effort to produce cool content is being optimized. That makes sense?
Yeah, totally. I like it.
Cool. Well, I don't want to fill up your mind bucket with too many ideas here. I feel like we got a couple great action steps to think about here. Go ahead and take the microphone and shout out your website, social media, anything that you'd like to promote here today.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's Chat Off the Mat is the podcast that I am loving doing right now, and will continue to. And I want to thank Adam for all your great tips. I can be reached at rose@rosewhipitch.com. My website is rosewhipitch.com, and I'm on social media, just Rose Whippitch. Just look for me because I'm the brand I'm hoping to be. And yeah, I love connecting with people. I'm really here to link people with or introduce people to ways that they can live their best lives. And I hope that you'll connect with me, whoever you are out there. Yeah, so this is great. And I wanted to ask you one question before we pop out. So I'm writing a book, and I plan to use my podcast as a platform to promote it and do all that stuff. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. A podcast is a great platform to promote the book, sell the book. You could set up a lead magnet, give people the first chapter free.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Yeah, great strategy. And
start doing it now before it even gets published. It's with the editor. So
yeah. I mean, I look at it like creating an offer, because it is, you're creating a product, which is a book, but I might even involve your readership and go, hey, what topic do I absolutely have to cover in this book? Here's who I'm talking to with this book. If that's you, what topic is a must have for this book? And let them help you create it. And, if you have like a poll or something like that, you could even include it in the book. Like, 59% of my listeners made sure that we want to talk about this topic. So here we go.
Yeah. And personal stories, things like that. All right, cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. I think that is a fantastic idea. All right, Pod Pals, get out there and support Rose. And Rose, I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
All right, Pod Pals, that is it for this coaching episode. Before you take off, don't forget to go to the link in the show notes and start your 10-day free trial of the Online Business Academy for Podcasters. This is my business focus point for this year. I am loving this academy. One of my favorite things is I love building customized tools for these academy members. So they present me with a problem. I build a customized tool like a Google Sheet, and I put them all in what I call my Podcasting Business School toolbox. You get access to that, all the tools that I've built out and customized for members, and it's a pretty cool deal. So would love to have you try it out. 10-day free trial link is in the episode notes, or head on over to www.podcastingbusiness.school/academy, and we will see you on the next episode.